is the following. ADHD requires something called transmural presence. Fancy word, you don't need to know the term. It has to be present across multiple distinct settings. So if a kid is perfectly fine at home that has ADHD only at school, ADHD.
No.
You can't just turn ADHD off based on where you are. It is present across every setting. So, it feels worse in school, but it has present everywhere. That's just how the brain works. And so when we have isolated ADHD symptoms, it's more of just a behavioral problem. Because maybe the kid is bored at school. Maybe they need glasses because they can't see. There are a host of problems that could be something that we think of as ADHD. We just, as a culture, don't want to parent kids, so we just give them meds. And what we typically will see is, if we give a medication like Ritalin or Adderall or something like that, and things don't change, it was an ADHD. Some other key points to note. One is that the attention deficit and the hyperactivity needs to be present across multiple distinct settings. Number two is the major established treatment. If we are going to treat it, it's always treated. Because kids grow out of it. Literally, they grow out of it. Usually by 10, 12. The medication established treatment, your psychostimulants, do not require a serum level to be established. In your farm days, that means you can take it when you need it. Not like an antidepressant, you need to take it every day for it to work. Think of it like Tylenol. If you have a headache, you take Tylenol once. So that allows us to give an Adderall if they have problems with school, but they're fine at home. Adderall just on school days. I have a family friend whose child has ADHD, like textbook, bouncing off the walls, can't sit still, for everything. And they figured out, how do they treat this kid? So it's very simple. He's my eldest daughter's age, the 4th grade. Takes Adderall, extended release. Kid has breakfast, takes the Adderall. By the time he gets to school, locked in. Gets home, starting to wear off, does their homework. Homework has to be done before dinner time. After dinner, get the hell outside. Go run around. Tire yourself out. All good. On the weekends, kids get a little hyper, whatever else, go to the park. Run around, trampoline, whatever it is. So they don't need some medication. They just go high impact physical activity. The worst thing that can happen, 2 worst things with ADHD are this. Number one is that kids get behind in school. And they don't learn and grow in that manner because of that there's consequences to their hyperactivity and distractibility. Number one. Remember, it's all about growth and development. Number 2 is that, and we mentioned this early in the course, psychostimulants have a significant effect of appetite loss. It's not good for kids. We need to eat to grow. Which is why we give psychostimulants after breakfast. Excuse me, my wife needs to go to the ER. She's texting me. got in trouble. I can't tell you why, because it's highly inappropriate. But I just got in trouble. Anyway, all good. It was a perfectly appropriate medical question. What? I don't know what was so funny. As you try to think about what possible question I asked her.
Yeah, exactly.
Grow up.
I've never been this age before.
Oh, wow.
Stop being a man. We don't grow up here. Anyway, so what we typically see is exaggeration than behavioral issues, and this sort of cause is. So this is significant, disobedient, hostile behavior towards authority figures that exists across multiple settings. Again, that idea has to exist. For example, I will tell you, I call her this natural face, or life face. My fourth grader can be an absolute bitch. Just say.
I call my 6-year-old niece a baby douche.
Fair enough.
I'm a little girl. It's no joke.
So, she's smart. She likes to challenge everyone. Especially my wife. She has no frustration tolerance. So they just yell at each other all the time. They're like, haha. Now you know what I have to deal with all day. Just kidding. So my daughter will fight us on everything. Like, if I was to say, oh, I like the green on this pen. That's not green. Yeah, it is. It's hunter green. Oh, I guess. I like the pen, though. It's just a challenge. Everything. Everything is challenging. But she's a freaking angel in school. Like, angel. Angel. So,
Sounds familiar.
right? So, that is a behavioral issue of mindful parenting, not a disorder like oppositional defiance. Because if it was oppositional defiance, it would exist across all figures of authority. Does that make sense? I'm not going to go through eating and elimination disorders, but I wanted to pause on mental retardation. The text still generally speaks to, I'm disappointed in your text a bit, because they still speak to mental retardation as a disorder. They got rid of that already. So mental retardation doesn't exist anymore.
It's now intellectual
Disability disorder. And mental retardation, the issue was, it was a simple number. If your IQ was below 70, you were considered retarded. That was a technical term. What they realized is, there are people who have an IQ of 60, they're very successful. And there are people with an IQ of 110 that aren't. So the disorder moved away from a straightforward number and transitioned to something called an adaptive capacity or adaptive functioning. So it's not just the number. It's now the number plus your ability to function in life. So just because you have an IQ of 67 doesn't mean you have a problem. You can be perfectly happy. I mean, science actually says that the higher your IQ, the more likely you are to commit suicide, to develop alcoholism, smoke crack cocaine. Smart people don't like to be around people who aren't so smart. Anyway. So it's a loneliness paradox. that the smarter you are, the more lonely it is. I know from experience.
I cannot.
And in more ways of your textbook showing its age, is about, it's very pervasive developmental disorders. So developmental disorders are where kids aren't in line with their developmental milestones. The fun thing about kids are, milestones are just percentiles. Like 95% of kids can do this by a certain age. They don't really matter. Kids, they used to do all these scales, like nowadays it's fine. Kids will catch up. By, usually we say 5 years old, as long as they're on track by 5, it doesn't matter. But there are some major conditions that you do need to know, and those are, for most extensive purposes, autism, and to a secondary extent, Asperger's. Asperger's does not exist anymore officially. We still use it a lot in our general lexicon. Asperger's is a lower form or a lesser version of autism spectrum disorder, but does not necessarily rise to a level of the severity and impairment that true autism does. Individuals with Asperger's tend to have issues of social interaction, but don't have the issues of communication and behavior that autism does. There is no treatment for any of these developmental disorders. No meds, no nothing. I would encourage you to look at, there's an attachment on autism spectrum disorders in Canvas that goes through the 3 major deficits. The sort of wrap-up notion, because there's really nothing else in this chapter that really addressing is, there is, for the behavioral disorders, there is no treatment. It's about focusing on getting them on the right track if they can. So there's not any treatments to really know. There's only one that you do need to know. And there's no fancy name for it. It's the worst thing we can do for kids who have true challenges in mental health. Again, behavioral is, again, most of what you see in the child. Is to use the expression, kids will be kids. Talking away, kids will be kids, is an excuse that allows us not to act. And some years ago told me this, it has stuck with me through child rearing. Kids are like Play-Doh. You have time to mold it. You have time to sort of shape it into whatever is beautiful. But at some point, what happens to the Play-Doh? It gets hard. You can't do anything. So kids, when they have behavioral challenges, they have these inappropriate expression of emotions. There's only a finite amount of time for parents, teachers, and whatever else to shape that behavior. Personality-wise, once you hit 12, maybe 13, your personality is set. So if you do a 10-year-old and they're annoying as hell, they're going to be annoying as hell for the rest of their life. That's your personality is set. And the only way to shape that personality is in childhood. And so interventions such as parenting is hugely important. For example, my generation, millennials, we were raised with participation trophies. That's how we are sort of framed. So now we expect everything to be celebrated. Yay, rah, rah. Just by showing up, we get it, outstanding on our performance evaluations. And guess what happened? The boomers were like, oh, hell no. And we crumbled. So childhood, molding, key importance. Let's move into adolescence. I don't have a timer on my clock, so I gotta make sure I stay on time. That's weird. All right, I need my calculator. Okay. So adolescence. When we see the transition from childhood to adolescence, we see less behavioral issues, ADHD starts to resolve, and we then start to deal with emotional issues. And this is not just the issues that are associated with puberty, although those exacerbate. Because guess what? Kids tend to, if you think about life, they go through these early stages of being alone, going to school, having expectations, grades, the whole nine, social structures, interactions. Everything's all well and good. Stabilize. You learn how to deal with all that. Then what does the body do? Let's start screwing with the chemistry. Then the hormones starts coming. Holy crap. Now those kids are feeling some sort of way. Classic, if you ever watched the movie Inside Out and Inside Out 2, very good explanation about emotions and how they change and the leap from children to adolescence. So adolescence is not an internal, or sorry, not an externalized response, we say an internalized response. Some issues that, and you can read through some of these, because we're going to start with, there's less of teenagers than used now. The issues that teenagers face is the desire to be independent and the growth that's associated with that, and making some really bad decisions along the way. And that is due to teenagers being influenced by peer pressure and social media. Social media being perhaps one of the worst things that can happen to adolescents. My kids aren't going to have social media until they're 40. I know, hilarious, right? What you'll see in the subsequent slides is that a lot of the named disorders are going to sound very similar to adult disorders. And this is where we start to see very little difference. I'm going to just hit on some key notions that you should put in the back of your brain for like ATI and stuff like that. That you should, again, know in the back of your mind, but aren't going to be tested. And there's not going to be much on your exam for these two chapters. The differences that we see in our common disorders is anxiety is usually driven by hormonal issues. Larger challenges that kids never had to face before in their lives, aka peer pressures of things like drugs, because they've all grown up, drugs are bad, but hey, my people I look up to are snorting crack off of the bathroom toilet in school. Hopefully not. And that's overwhelming, and that's why those anxieties come out. We'll talk about anxiety. Well, Pat will talk about anxiety. Mood disorders. We tend to see irritability and acting out as the major symptom, and that is different than adulthood. Depression is usually a withdrawal in adults, versus in adolescence, it's an outward irritability. And so this is sort of a key point in coaching patients and their parents, and if you are rearing children, that irritability in adolescence, excessive irritability or newfound irritability, is often a sign of depression. Then we see acting out and reckless behaviors. And the reason in language we see acting out behaviors as commonplace is because, guess what? Kids chase a high. They want to feel good. So they do risky behaviors. We're going to talk about this in substance use. people love risky behaviors. I like risky behaviors. Doing those things that might get you in trouble. A little fun. Why not? It's all good. Yeah, it's like, let's say something inappropriate. But that's why we see kids potentially leaving the house at inappropriate hours, doing drugs. They're chasing a high. We see eating disorders now more common than ever. We see anorexia commonplace in social circles that champion lower body weight. There are certain social structures that do. There are some social structures that don't. Excuse me. So if you have a friend group or live in a town that champions slenderness, we see anorexia is higher. Anybody know the characteristics? We're going to talk about eating disorders a lot. Anybody know the geographic or socioeconomic place where anorexia is most common?
Europe.
Or in America? Like what? A socioeconomic group.
The rich models.
Rich white people.
You said it.
I'm just saying, based on data, it's rich white people. Especially rich white women. And so if you look at, in the case of where struggles, we probably have talked about this, lower socioeconomic individuals tend to have less mental health issues. In the words of 50 Cent, depression is a privilege.
Yeah, I can't.
But the reason has to do with social constructs. That some cultures, I mean, if we go back to like the 1500s, 1600s, was slenderness considered attractive? God, no.
Oh.
Men loved. The plumper the better.
Hallelujah.
Why? Well, some. Well, and that's where we start to see the individuals. Let's say males who enjoy a more curvy individual are characterized by a socioeconomic status. Those who do not. I'll give one example. It's common. Forget the place. Where some guy put into his prenup that something about the inheritance for every pound a woman gained, she loses money, whatever. So, what we are seeing now, more than ever, is bulimia. Bulimia is becoming very common. I blame social media. We're going to talk about that more. But almost every teenage girl has a form of bulimia. Especially throughout Instagram. Instagram focuses on two things: food culture and gym culture. And how many times have you heard somebody or yourself say, "Ooh, I just had big dinner. Now I need to go to the gym because I gotta work this off. I gotta go to the gym."
I've never said not one thing like that.
Either have I. So, but that idea of I just ate a lot, I need to go to the gym to work that off. That's the exact physiology of bulimia. It's excessive eating balanced with compensation. Now, we're not talking about the one-off, ooh, I just ate a whole pizza because I'm stressed. We're talking about the recurring use of food for stress relief, for example, and compensating with going to the gym or something else. We'll talk about that. But again, people get into those cultures and socioeconomic status, and we'll get to that. Chemical dependency then becomes an issue.
You better eat it back. No, it's something
Sorry, my wife is yelling at me for my comments. I'm still trying to see if she's calling 911 or not. I hope not.
Go down 7 weeks.
She's fine.
She's texting.
Exactly. What else is? It could be atopic pregnancy, but fine. Chemical dependency, just to look ahead at a topic. Chemical dependency is we have to sort of get to the notion of chemical dependency of is it a choice or is it a disorder? And the common Western view on chemical dependency is this. It is a choice most of the time. Addiction is a choice most of the time. Here's why. It is impossible to develop an addiction to alcohol unless you start drinking alcohol. It's possible. It's impossible to love cocaine without dabbling in the nose candy. It's impossible. What?
I called it booger sugar.
I'm tired of the freaking mess.
However,
Calm down. Hey,
the exemption to that notion, of course, are those individuals that get addicted due to standard of care treatment or the horrible, horrible overprescribing of opiates that happened 10, 15 years ago. Those, I'm not counting in this discussion. Okay, those are really to the side, special cases. Pfizer should lose more than they've lost in the billions for the overprescribing of oxys and all that. It was really horrible what they did. And unfortunately, I mean, nowadays there's better regulations, but back then there was nothing. But the idea is, if we go to the choosing, everyone knows, I think, generally speaking, that all these drugs have a possibility of an addictive potential. Like, I don't know anybody that says, oh, alcohol, there's no such thing as alcoholism. Kids generally don't make good decisions. They see their friends shooting heroin, and they're fine, they don't die. Let me try. That's how bad things happen.
what you try alcohol?
So, and we're going to talk a lot about this when we get to the chapter on substance abuse. But again, this bad decision stuff is going to become apparent. I don't think there's much else. Personality, we're going to talk about personality disorders. We'll pause on suicide.
Oh my gosh.
What?
Such a dark phrase. Such a dark thing to go up to.
Suicide?
Are we finished?
I don't know. I don't have a slide counter on here, so I'm just going with the slides. The suicide, when we truly get into the suicide chapter, that is the most depressing chapter. That and domestic abuse. Domestic abuse is dark. Particularly when we have to have the real conversations about what keep people engaged in that conversation. And there's a video that I typically show that I have at least half of you in tears. It's hard because when we talk about the real approach, which I didn't talk about a week or two ago, that you can't force people to help. You can't give people help if they don't want it. So suicide, is this the last topic? It is. So really quickly, we're going to talk a lot about suicide. The one notion about suicide, about schizophrenia, we're going to talk about that later. This is why I don't like the way this chapter in corporate makes us go through it, because we should do this in here. A notion of depression that will come out more often in when we talk about it, that you should start to learn now. We'll say 5 things. We'll give us 5 things. Number 1, women attempt suicide more often than men, but men are more successful. That's number 1. Women will attempt, but for every attempt, men are statistically more likely to be successful. The reason for that is men choose more violent methods, and women generally choose less painful methods, like overdoses, versus men choose guns. So that's number 1. Number 2 is that a common misconception, this question will be on at least 1 exam, maybe 3, asking about suicide does not change one's risk for suicide. To make a little joke about it, it's not like saying, do you have any thoughts of harming yourself? A patient saying, no, I never thought about that, but yeah, I'm going to go blow my brains out when I leave here. That's not how suicide works. Number 3. So number 1, men or females tend to attempt more often. Statistically, men will be more likely to be successful. It's a weird way to say successful. Number 2 is that asking about mental health or asking about suicide does not increase one's risk for suicide. Number 3 is that ambiguity in an identity raises risk for suicide dramatically. So, for example, sexual orientation questions, which in adolescence tends to be a little, and also identity about gender can influence suicide dramatically. Number 3 is that attention-seeking suicide or self-harm is very uncommon with a true attention-seeking nature. The last one is truly unique to adolescence, and that is simply that a major driver in adolescent suicide is the inability to see the future. Adolescent brains and child brains are driven by short-term pleasure and reward, not long-term. And generally, until that frontal lobe kicks in, cannot see a distant future. This is why adolescents, when they have a breakup, it's the end of the world. Never gonna find love again. They don't see that future. So suicide is seen as a only solution. Because every problem is a permanent problem when really it's temporary. So that's it from this. These 2 chapters, very light in terms of content, a little dark in terms of content, but only a few key and salient points that you should know for your exam that we've talked about. We'll do similar, very sort of superficial adult stuff next time, and then Pat will get into the clinical disorders of anxiety. See everybody next week. Let me just see if Britt's here. She's here, I'll have her start early. All right, she's not. So go on break, and whenever you get take 10 or so, and then I'll bring her. Come right in when she gets here.
Dr. D,
Yeah.
can I show you this?
I remember it, but I don't remember it. Do you have it up? Oh, I think I know why. I think it was from like a year and a half ago. The posting.
Okay, so I think it's this one. Okay, I got this one. 50.
Can you send that to me? Just check where the comment is. I think the submission date was a year ago or 2 years ago. Let me see if I can find it quick.
But why would it show zeros? Because I would see that still here. I don't even have any August. It's a year ago. Nope. I don't know what I accidentally did. But don't you have to open it again or something?
What?
Don't you have to reopen it? Because I tried to send it to you. Like, how do I send it?
Just send it to me in a message.
Okay.
And then you can go in and look at it.